Welcome to A Better HR Business, the podcast that looks at how HR consultants and HR tech firms grow their businesses and how they help their employers to get the best out of their people. Remember, for show notes and downloads, go to www.getmorehrclients.com/podcast. That's getmorehrclients.com/podcast. Okay, let's get started.
Hello and welcome back to the show. Thanks for coming along. I'm delighted to be joined today by Noel Dykes. Noel is the founder and CEO of Frankli, a very cool HR tech company which is on a mission to help businesses have the most empowered, engaged and productive people possible. And even better, they're based in Ireland. So Noel, thanks very much for joining me today.
No worries, Ben. It's a pleasure to be here. So thanks yourself.
Yeah. Whereabouts are you based?
Based out of Sligo, my hometown.
Nice.
So yeah, based here with I suppose very much a distributed team, but We're all working across Ireland. Yeah,
brilliant. So we're talking about HR tech, but if you're listening to this, Sligo is an absolutely wonderful part of the world. So do try to get there if you ever get the chance to roam free again. So Noel, let's dive on into it. Do you want to start by giving us your background, and then we'll have a bit of a look at Frankli?
Yeah, no worries. So background in software, software engineering predominantly. So we've studied in DCU, started my career at IBM in Dublin, and then decided to go to Australia for a year, which ended up being 3 years, and then six and a half in New Zealand. So spent quite a bit of time away. I suppose progression in roles from building software to managing technical teams to consulting in software. In my last role in New Zealand in Wellington, I was practice manager with accountability for somewhere in the region of 100 people at one point, and a focus on client and on business transformation. So very much, that kind of blend of I suppose I know enough about technology to be dangerous, but my passion and what I came to understand. And my focus really was on people and how we develop people and how we engage people.
Yeah, that's great. And Wellington's a wonderful part of the world too. So
it is. It's a beautiful place.
You've enjoyed your travels. So can you tell us about Frankli? What does Frankli do and who do you help?
Yeah, so I suppose, again, just rewind back to Wellington in New Zealand. What I noticed as we were scaling, working in a fast growing consulting company and working with a lot of companies that were growing, was, culture is very, very difficult to scale. We had a lot of really smart young people come through a graduate program. And what I noticed was their interaction or what they wanted from work was very purposeful. They wanted much more interaction, much more like say. They wanted to have a say early on in their career in the business. And what we found and what I really noticed was the tools and technology and a lot of the approaches to performance and recognition and feedback, call it what you want. They were still very traditional, very static, quite rigid and very top down. So the idea for Frankli was to build a software as a service, a platform that really scaled with organizations, but also put the individual at the center of all things performance and all things engagement. So how do we maybe model some of what's happening in people's personal life in terms of social media, in terms of instant gratification and feedback, and start to bring some of those, I suppose, routines and habits and expectations into the workplace. So Frankli is set out to really modernize the core of all things end-to-end performance management with a focus on that real time, with a focus on being much more people-centric. And guess what? Rather than it being a once a year activity, we've now moved, we've really moved the dial to conversations that are bi-weekly or monthly around performance, check-ins with managers, coaching conversations, and the individual feels much more bought into, has a clear understanding of what they're doing and how their contribution, kind of feeds that wider purpose and the wider priorities of the business.
Yeah, right. That makes sense. And how did you work out what you're going to cover? So there are so many options in terms of the circle of employment from start to finish. How do you work out what components to put in and to leave out?
Yeah, that's a great one. I think our focus, like if we kind of rewind back to where Frankli started, like we were very much on the connectivity and probably more engagement led. So like putting like-minded people in front of one another, pulse surveys, and engagement is great. And, there's a lot of interest in engagement solutions. What we found when we went to validate that market in Ireland, like it was more of a nice to have. What we found time and time again was executives and HR directors were really struggling of getting a handle on performance, on how people were performing, underperformance, and also how actually rewarded, recognized, the up and coming shining stars and really gave them a career within the organization. So what we then decided to do was to really double down on performance and performance management. And while performance management, in a lot of circles still has maybe some bad connotations or gets a bad rap for maybe how it's viewed, it's really, really important. It's really critical. And what we've noticed, and especially in the last 12 to 18 months, that emphasis on helping people develop their career, helping the underperformers, helping managers be better people managers, has really dialed up, and a lot more interest in it. So we just focus now in on all the aspects of end-to-end performance management that are really going to drive better results for businesses.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And there's a lot out there on the employee engagement side.
Yeah.
So maybe there's less on the performance side. But I'm curious, you guys weren't responsible for the coronavirus, were you? Because the world going remote is probably only supporting your business.
That's it. Look at, it's been a challenging time, right? I mean, there's no doubt about it that this is, extremely difficult and challenging for people. And it's probably not the remote working that we all had planned. But look at Ben, absolutely, there has been an upside for ourselves. And there's also been quite a lot of interest, but honest conversations to say, maybe not now, maybe the timing, even in terms of budgets, etc. So we acknowledge all of that. But yeah, I would say there's a stronger emphasis on supporting people. Obviously, well-being is featured,
yes,
rightly so, as number one. But I think as we get around, that this is going to be the future. There is going to be a hybrid approach to how we come out of all of this. I think what we're doing and the space we're in is going to mature, and I definitely think it's going to feature on every executive's table up and down the country or internationally.
Yeah, absolutely. So could you just give us a quick overview of the product itself? Because you've got some really nice sort of elements to it. You've got the goal setting and pulse surveys, the one-to-ones. How do you, what's in there, and then how do you tie it together?
Yeah, so again, take a traditional, we're really challenging the traditional thinking of this once a year big bang approach to performance management, which is usually we have a conversation about the year that was, we're looking over our shoulder, maybe with a lot of data, not a lot of regular insight or regular touch points between the individual and their manager. And so what we've done is we take in, as I said earlier, very much a ground up approach to put the individual as part of the process. So have them engage in regular conversations with their manager, have them engage in regular one-to-one coaching, mentoring conversations directly within Frankli, have them have a clear understanding of what the business is trying to achieve. So we've led with the objectives and key results, so OKR, goal setting framework. And we really like that because of its alignment and its transparency. So directly within our product, the company strategy is public to everyone. And so I can come and see, okay, this is what the business is setting out to achieve for the year. And when I go to create my own goals or have a conversation with my manager at a team level or at a department level, I can start to really understand how alignment features, how my role and what I'm doing and my contribution is going to feed the greater good. So goal setting features regularly, really moving that conversation into a regular one-to-one so that we're discussing performance. We're setting goals quarterly. We're, as managers, we're removing blockers. We're helping people develop their careers. And then, the other elements around coaching and mentoring. And we still do run performance review cycles, but what we believe is with regular data points and much more richer data points, we can have a meaningful, fairer performance review cycle, whereby the individual is getting a chance to reflect on their performance, maybe get some 360 or peer feedback. And then the manager does a review with all these data points from one-to-ones, from coaching and mentoring outputs, from praise and recognition, which is another big part of our product. So we're really encouraging every individual to have a voice within the organization, and Frankli is that voice. So that element of giving unprompted feedback, giving praise, sharing ideas, and giving feedback to peers.
Yeah, that's excellent. I've had countless occasions where I've been on site doing projects and doing group feedback sessions with employees and all that sort of thing. And all these issues come to the fore so many times, not getting enough feedback, or the goals aren't clear enough, or it's, as you say, a once a year annual review as opposed to regular feedback and adjustments along the way. So I really love the way you built this out. Who are your ideal clients for this kind of work?
Yeah, so currently in Ireland and the UK, we're targeting companies with between 20 and 2,000 employees, predominantly knowledge-based sectors such as ICT or professional services. So those companies that are, either in a growth mode, they're growing, and they're maybe not growing super fast. So we're working with a lot of scale-ups, but we're also working with a lot of more traditional companies that want to move what they're doing from paper-based to be much more not just digital, but be relevant. So again, if we reflect on COVID, a lot of organizations that were paper-based in their approach to performance and probably had quite a good process, it just doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
And again, coming back to your point there, Ben, on goals and transparency and feedback. Again, now with people truly distributed, it's really, really important that organizations have a platform or a mechanism to really, hone in on this, give feedback, and also acknowledge where feedback's been given and drive some data and reporting out of that.
Yeah.
So our ideal customer is in that SME range, so small to medium-sized business. And we're seeing, a lot of interest across a lot of sectors. Staffing and recruitment's been quite strong. Again, software quite strong, and professional service companies.
Oh, that's excellent. That's good to hear. And I'm an HR guy, but I'm also a bit of a marketing nerd. So what are you doing to grow the business? How are you finding new customers for your business?
Yeah, so a lot of it at the minute has been outbound. So we have invested in and continue to invest, I suppose, in thought leadership and trying to somewhat educate the market on what is some new thinking in terms of the benefits, and shifting from maybe setting KPIs to OKRs, where to start with feedback. I think when we talk to a lot of organizations, their maturity or their concerns is around where do we even start. So we have invested a lot in content marketing, and then from an outbound perspective, we're also invested in a CRM and trying to get quite targeted. We do a lot of outreach through LinkedIn. We find a lot of our target customers in terms of a HR director or an operations person is on LinkedIn, and so again we try and engage them in relevant content at relevant times throughout the year, and build up that relationship. And just more recently, we're starting to look at how do we drive more inbound through the likes of G2 or Capterra, and with our early customer traction, start to get reviews, testimonials, and case studies to really help us frame that.
Yeah, that's very good. And on the content marketing side and the LinkedIn, you finding it's more crowded these days, things everyone's pushed online with the COVID outbreak?
Yeah, I think so. Look, when COVID broke, Ben, to be honest, we decided to reverse out. We turned off all paid advertising. We went completely manual and quite personalized, and acknowledged that initial months directly after COVID broke, like people were just getting their heads around what was happening. And it's definitely got quite noisy. And I think the purpose of LinkedIn is maybe the lines are being blurred. What am I here for? And I don't know whether you find it, but I find myself getting more and more emails and more, and so much of it is not relevant. So I would say, yeah, it's definitely noisy. But in terms of like having a presence, in terms of if you can really hone in on those target customers at the right time, we find, that goes quite well. If we can get to not even the decision maker, but a champion who's looking for a solution like Frankli at the right time, engage their interest, get them on a demo, guess what? Our chances of success go way up.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's smart. And do you partner with other HR industry companies or consultants?
So partnership is very, very strong on our roadmap and is strategic. So, I've come on here talking about performance management. We're in a, I suppose, a life cycle, or there's lots of bits and pieces to HR. So we would definitely look to partner from a tools offering perspective. We don't want to be an island. So like integrating into HRIS systems, integrating into payroll, et cetera. We don't want to, and our primary focus is in on time and attendance and all those areas. And also, I would say more and more we're probably getting quite a bit of interest from HR consultants, especially in international markets, like how they could potentially represent us, how they could, do some on the ground, maybe implementation. We're finding there seems to be quite a bit of interest.
Yeah.
But to date, we haven't firmed up, any of those. We're having lots of really good conversations. I think a lot of the early investment in product and in self-serve and in usability and that ability to sign people up quite easily is probably paying off. So we're doing quite well in terms of low implementation cost and friction. But always interested in partnering with the right people who have the same passion.
Yeah, brilliant. I love the UI. It's very fresh and easy to use and access. And on the partnering side, certainly the HR tech companies I've spoken to, they've grown in leaps and bounds on the partnering with other, as you say, other HR tech or financial services type products, and then the referrals programs. I know when I was an HR consultant, there wasn't a lot of the software available now, but they would have been wonderful upsells for me as a consultant or a cross-sell. Right. So go in, sort out a workplace issue, and then, to sustain this or improve performance going forward, here's a wonderful tool. Frankly, you should have a play with it, have a look at the demo, go from there. So if you're a consultant, get in touch.
I would echo that, Ben. Love to hear from people. And I suppose for us, it is, we would take a longer term view on some of that. So we probably, don't want to go out partnering with every consultant or every individual, but if there's people who if it resonates what we're doing and would love to learn more and certainly have a conversation and share more details about what we're planning to do in our business.
Nice. Well, speaking of long-term future, what do you see the future holding for your business and also for the HR world and the world of work?
Yeah, great question. Great question. Look, I think starting with our own business, international scale has been from day one, so I obviously come full circle from travels in Australia, New Zealand, back to Sligo, where I'm from. The intention was always to grow the product, the engineering and the R&D team out of here, validate what we're doing in Ireland, in the UK and in Europe, and scale it back out through Australia, New Zealand. And so that's what that's the plan for this year. We've already got some customers currently trialing the product in New Zealand, quite a bit of interest from Australia as well. Excellent. So international expansion, raising money to support that, fueling the team in terms of marketing and sales. Our engineering capability and our product is well up for it. We feel ready to scale. And in terms of the future of work, I think that is. I definitely feel we've learned a great deal in the last 12 to 18 months in terms of both as collectively as teams and as businesses, but as individuals. And I think individuals and people are really going to drive the agenda here. So flexibility, more time with family, that kind of that right to down tools and switch off. I really like that. I really support that. So I think a hybrid model will feature, though, because I do believe that the connection and that community in work is so important, and I haven't seen that really transition online so well. And I think people are not starved, but they're losing out on the connections with their colleagues. So I think we'll in Ireland, anyways. I know we're certainly looking forward to the day where we can go and hang out with our work colleagues more, our friends.
Absolutely.
So that's going to drive a lot of a lot of interest in models of work. But I definitely feel that personalization, the individual, we're going to see a huge amount of individuals and entrepreneurship, I hope, come out of the flexibility that remote working is going to allow. And I think we'll see a lot of people freelancing, and a lot more people, moving around and choosing to work from some beautiful places and maybe not be so tied to the cities.
Yeah. You're not going to try and paint those pictures of people sitting in the Bali cafes with their laptop open watching the monkeys down. I'm always terribly jealous.
Yeah, no, certainly not. But I do. It's quite exciting, right?
Yeah.
I think, though, for employers and for companies, though, it's really about, okay, so if this is the future, how do we remain relevant? And I think being really intentional around the routines of engaging people and being really intentional around what performance management means as a whole within the organization, not just marketing it, not just selling them a really good role, and then when they join the organization, the wheels start to fall off. I think there's going to be, there's going to be so much opportunity for people in terms of leveling the playing field if remote work really and truly kicks off, which it feels like it is going to. And I think employers are going to have to really realize that the individual and, what's being coined employee experience, I think just the people experience of work, a purposeful career, not just a job. People don't want jobs, they want to hang their hat on something and get stuck in, but actually understand their contribution and why they're here and what they're working on.
Absolutely. I've been through a few boom bust cycles, and it always makes me think when employers are frantically searching for staff in a skill shortage, and they don't think in terms of a sales pipeline or a talent pipeline. It's just, oh, where are they? They're not here. What do I do? But if they'd taken this opportunity during the bad times, let's say, to do some of the things you've been talking about, really bring out the best in their people, support them, help them along these challenging times, that's when they'll stick around and refer people to you in the times when skill is a bit more scarce.
Absolutely. No, so true. A great time to be loyal and to build trust. While, I know, again, I'm acutely aware that hasn't been an option for everyone. But I think, I was talking to a customer the other day, and I really liked their approach of we just been upfront from day one, what that looked like, and no surprises. And I think, again, people kind of align with that when you're honest and upfront.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so if you're listening to this as a potential client, or if you're a consultant or an HR tech firm, you think you could refer someone to Frankli, then there's a wonderful opportunity for you to help your client or business to keep the people you want for when the skill shortage does return. So leading to that point, if people do want to learn more about Frankli, what should they do, Noel?
Yeah, so best place is to seek us out online. Yeah, so we're Frankli with an I, so not a Y.
Yep.
So Frankli, I.io. .io is our primary domain. So there's a lot of information on our website. You'll find us on LinkedIn, and look myself up on LinkedIn as well. Happy to engage in conversations around all of this. But you'll find us on social media. You'll find us online if you search, and that's probably the best place to start.
Yep.
Again, coming back to our content marketing, and we do share a lot of our thought leadership there, access to a number of ebooks. We did a very popular set of content again during the pandemic around like, how do we come out of this? How do we start to transition? So we find time and time again that's still really relevant and engaging. So hopefully, people might seek that out and get something from it.
Yeah, that's great. And before I let you go, how did you come up with the name Frankli? Because anyone who started a business anywhere realizes how difficult it is to come up with a name. And I love it. You've done really well.
Yeah, no, thanks, Ben. It's a play on, to be frank and to speak frankly. So, definitely influenced by some people I've worked with and this kind of idea of, let's just have an honest conversation. And if you boil that down, I think so many of us and so many organizations are dancing around, what's really happening in work, how I really feel as an individual, a manager calling out or doing something about underperformance, but going the other way, also acknowledging great work, coming up and giving feedback in context, saying it, calling it out. So that's where it came from, really, emphasizing the power of communication. And my goodness, if we work on that and we're open to two sides, so, the constructive kind of challenging people, but respectively, versus calling out great wins and great success. I think there's a few simple steps there towards a very good model for how we can improve workplace.
Absolutely. Well, Noel, I've really enjoyed this conversation and learned so much about Frankli, and I love what you guys are doing and helping employers everywhere. So thank you very much for joining me on the show today.
Nice one, Ben. It's been a pleasure. And all the best and take care and keep in touch.
Thanks for joining us today on A Better HR Business, the podcast that explores the world of HR consulting and HR tech businesses. For show notes and downloads, go to www.getmorehrclients.com/podcast. That's getmorehrclients.com/podcast. Remember to subscribe and share the show with any friends who are busy growing a HR business. Thanks and see you next time.